He said it was a deal breaker if I went on that trip. So, I went anyway, and posted a bikini pic with my guy bestie. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Let him dictate who I can hang out with, and where I can go? I'm Cora, 29, and I'm still trying to process how my entire life imploded over one stupid weekend at the coast. Daniel and I had been married for 4 years. Things were mostly good. Mostly. We had our starter home in a quiet suburb, the one with the crooked shutters we were always meaning to fix. We had decent jobs. He was a logistics coordinator for a big shipping firm, a job that sent him out of town sometimes. I was a marketing assistant, a job that paid the bills and let me be creative, sometimes. We weren't rich, not even close, but we were comfortable. I thought we were solid, truly, until Leo became this massive issue, and seemingly out of nowhere. Leo and I have been friends since sophomore year of college. We were inseparable. We actually dated, briefly, before I ever met Daniel. But it wasn't serious. It was just a few weeks of hanging out, late-night talks that fizzled out as naturally as they began. I never felt the need to tell Daniel about that part. It wasn't relevant. Honestly, it would have just created drama for no reason. Leo has always been my person, my go-to when I need to vent, or just exist without overthinking every little thing. He just gets me. Our friend group, the one forged in cheap beer and all-nighters, has this tradition. Every summer, we go to Haven Point. It started in college, and somehow, we've managed to keep it going, despite everyone getting older, getting married, and some even having kids. It's the one thing I look forward to every single year. 3 days of no responsibilities, no spreadsheets, no worrying about the leaking faucet in the guest bathroom, just relaxation and fun with the people who've known me forever, the people who knew me before I was Mrs. Daniel Fletcher. This year, Daniel suddenly had a problem with it. It didn't come out of nowhere, I guess. Not really. He'd been making these little comments for months, these tiny, passive-aggressive digs about how close Leo and I were. Like when Leo would text me late, just a meme or a stupid joke, Daniel would let out this dramatic, theatrical sigh from across the couch and ask, "What does Leo want now?" Or he'd make these little jabs about how I light up when Leo calls. I'd just roll my eyes and move on. It all seemed so childish, so insecure. But then it escalated. 2 weeks before the trip, we were having dinner. Pasta. The one I make that he says he loves. And he just dropped it into the conversation, right between asking for the Parmesan and talking about his day. "I don't think you should go to Haven Point this year." Just like that. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud because I thought he was joking. His sense of humor could be dry like that. But he just stared at me, his fork hovering over his plate, his expression completely flat. When I realized he was serious, I was floored. He said he didn't like the energy between me and Leo. Whatever the hell that means. He said it was inappropriate for a married woman to go on a weekend trip with a group that included her single, male best friend. Especially that male best friend. Inappropriate? The word felt like acid on my tongue. I have never cheated on you, Daniel. Not once in 4 years. The accusation, even implied, made my blood boil. The argument got heated. Fast. I reminded him that these are my oldest friends. People I've known for a decade, way longer than I've known him. He countered by pulling up my texts with Leo. He'd gone through my phone while I was in the shower. My stomach dropped. It felt like such a violation. There was nothing even bad in them. Just some inside jokes, plans for the trip, the usual back and forth. But Daniel, he fixated on this one message. Leo had written, "Can't wait to see you in that new swimsuit you bought." It was a completely innocent comment. I had sent a picture of the swimsuit, a bright blue bikini, to our entire group chat. Everyone had seen it. Everyone had commented. But Daniel acted like it was some secret, sordid code. That's when he dropped the ultimatum. His voice was low and dangerously calm. "If you go on this trip with him, Cora, it's a deal breaker for me." Those exact words. A deal breaker. 4 years of marriage. 4 years of building a life, fixing up a house, talking about a future. And he was ready to throw it all away because I wanted 3 days at the beach with friends I've had forever. I'd be lying if I said I didn't consider staying home for about 5 minutes. But the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Who was he to test me like this? To make me choose between my husband and my history? I've always been independent. It's one of the things he said he loved about me when we first met. He loved that I had my own life. my own friends. Now, suddenly, it was a problem, a threat. So I made my decision. I wasn't going to let him control me. I packed my bags that night, told him I was going, and that we could talk about his trust issues when I got back. He didn't even look at me. He just sat there on the couch, staring at the glow of his phone, acting like I wasn't even there. And that was the moment a tiny, invisible wall went up between us. The silence in the car on the way to Haven Point was louder than any argument. I kept checking my phone, my thumb hovering over Daniel's name. Nothing. Not a text. Not a call. Not even a stupid, angry emoji. Part of me tried to spin it as a good thing. No drama to deal with, I told myself. I can just relax and have fun. But honestly, it stung. 4 years together, and he couldn't even send a drive-safe message. Whatever. I cranked up my playlist, the one full of college anthems, and pushed him out of my mind. The salt was already in the air by the time I pulled onto the gravel driveway of the beach house, and there he was, Leo, already on the porch, a beer in his hand, a wide grin on his face. He gave me this big, enveloping hug, the kind that makes you feel like you've finally come home. He whispered into my hair, "Proud of you for coming." Something about the way he said it, the genuine admiration in his voice, made my stomach do a little flutter. He helped carry my bags in, catching me up on who had already arrived and the plans for the weekend. The house was exactly as I remembered it. Slightly run down, smelling of salt and old wood, but perfect. 6 bedrooms, an oceanfront view, and a massive deck that had seen more than its fair share of late-night confessions. My friend Jenna gave me a sideways look the moment I walked in. She was stirring a pitcher of margaritas in the kitchen. "So, Daniel was cool with you coming?" she asked, her tone carefully neutral. I rolled my eyes, forcing a casual laugh. "He'll get over it." She didn't look convinced. That first night, we did our traditional bonfire on the beach. The flames licked at the dark sky, sparks dancing up towards the stars. Someone, I think it was Mark, brought up Daniel's absence. "He doesn't own me," I said, maybe a little louder than necessary. The margarita in my hand gave me courage. "We're not joined at the hip." Leo, sitting beside me on the driftwood log, nodded along enthusiastically. "Cora's always been independent," he added, throwing an arm casually around my shoulders. "That's what makes her Cora." I felt seen, truly seen, in a way Daniel hadn't made me feel in months. The drinks flowed, and with each one, I found myself leaning a little closer to Leo. Nothing inappropriate, just comfortable. Laughing at his stupid jokes, letting my hand rest on his arm when he said something funny. Old habits. Around midnight, he suggested a quick swim. The others had already started heading back to the house, tired and a little drunk. But the water looked so inviting, the moonlight painting a silver path across the surface. So, we went in, still in our clothes from dinner. The water was freezing, but exhilarating. It shocked the breath out of me. We splashed around like kids, the cold and the dark and the sound of the waves making everything else feel a million miles away. For those few minutes, floating in the Atlantic with the salt on my lips, I forgot all about my problems at home. I forgot about Daniel sitting alone on our couch. I forgot about everything but the here and now. Back at the house, shivering and dripping on the porch, I checked my phone again. Still nothing. So, I opened Facebook, and I posted a quote. "Sometimes the people who claim to love you the most are the ones who try to clip your wings." I added a picture of the beach sunset I'd taken earlier, and watched the likes start to roll in. It felt good. It felt like I was taking back control. I had no idea that a weekend trip would be the match that would burn my entire life to the ground. And the worst part? Deep down, some tiny, treacherous voice was whispering that maybe, just maybe, I knew exactly what I was doing. The next day was when things really went sideways. We spent the morning on the beach, the sun beating down, the air thick with the smell of sunscreen and salt. I wore my new bikini, the blue one, the one Leo had commented on. It was a bit more revealing than what I'd usually wear, but I felt bold. I felt defiant. Everyone was taking photos, documenting the perfect, carefree weekend for social media. And then Leo suggested one of just us. "Cora, come on, let's get a good one," he said, pulling me away from the group. His arm went around my waist, pulling me close against his bare, sun-warmed chest. His hand rested on my back, and then slid a bit lower than it should have, just to the top of my bikini bottoms. The camera on Jenna's phone clicked. And in that fraction of a second, something shifted between us. It wasn't just a friendly pose anymore. It was charged. It was a secret the two of us now shared. I could feel the heat of his palm through the thin fabric, and I didn't pull away. Later, after too many margaritas at a beachside bar called the Salty Dog, Leo and I ended up alone on the deck of the house. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. He turned to me, his expression suddenly serious. "You know," he started, his voice low, "I've always wondered what would have happened if we'd given our relationship a real shot back in college." Ender 1. I should have changed the subject. I should have laughed it off, made a joke, said something about Daniel. A married woman should have done that. Instead, I looked out at the ocean and admitted, I've wondered, too. One thing led to another. A hand on my knee. A lingering look. The confession that he wasn't really happy with his on-again, off-again girlfriend Chloe. He said she didn't understand him, not like I did, and we ended up back in his room. We didn't have sex. I need to be clear about that. I had that line drawn firmly in my mind, but what we did do was definitely crossing boundaries. Kissing that went on for too long. Hands that explored places they had no business being. Whispered words that belonged to two single people, not to me. I justified it to myself in the hazy, alcohol-fueled logic of the moment. It wasn't really cheating if we didn't go all the way. It was a stupid, convenient loophole I created on the spot to absolve myself of guilt. It was just a mistake, a drunken slip-up. It didn't mean anything. That night, lying alone in my own bed, the smell of his cologne still on my skin, I felt reckless. And I felt a sharp, vindictive urge to hurt Daniel, like he'd hurt me with his ultimatum. He wanted to control me? He wanted to put me in a cage? Well, here was my response. I picked up my phone, my hands shaking slightly. I found the photo from the beach, the one of Leo and me, his hand, low on my back, my head tilted towards his, a wide, genuine smile on my face, a smile I hadn't shown Daniel in weeks. I posted it, and I captioned it, "Making memories with the people who truly matter. Number Haven Point, number best friends." The word truly was a poison dart aimed directly at my husband. I hit post, and then I immediately turned my phone off. I didn't want to see his reaction. I didn't want to see the comments. Part of me, the sober, rational part, knew I'd just detonated a bomb in the middle of my own life, but a bigger part felt vindicated. The drive home felt 1,000,000 miles long. Jenna's words from that morning, as I was packing up my car, echoed in my head. She had pulled me aside, her face etched with worry. "I saw that post, Cora. I hope it was worth it." Her words hung in the air between us, heavy and accusatory. I'd turned my phone back on Sunday morning to a flood of notifications. Dozens of likes and comments on the photo. A few confused messages from mutual friends, but nothing from Daniel. The silence was worse than anger. So much worse. When I finally pulled into our driveway, I knew something was wrong. His car was there, but the house felt different. Still. Empty. I walked in, my flip-flops slapping against the hardwood floor. "Daniel?" I called out, my voice sounding small in the sudden quiet of our home. No answer. Then I saw it. I walked into our bedroom, and my heart hammered against my ribs. His closet door was ajar, and his side was half empty. A few forgotten shirts, a pair of old sneakers. The top of his dresser was cleared off. I pulled open the drawers. Empty. Only my stuff was left behind. I ran from room to room, a cold panic rising in my throat. His toothbrush was gone from the bathroom. His laptop wasn't on the desk in the spare room. In the kitchen, propped up against the salt shaker on the table, I found his note. It was written on a ripped piece of a paper bag, his handwriting tight and controlled. "Staying at Jake's. We need to talk, but not tonight." I grabbed my phone and called him immediately. It went straight to voicemail. "Hey, you've reached Daniel. Leave a message." I texted him, my thumbs flying across the screen, a furious jumble of words. "Are you serious right now? You're moving out because of a photo?" Then I sank to the floor, my back against the cool kitchen cabinets, and I cried. I cried until I couldn't breathe, until my head throbbed and my eyes were swollen shut. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to get angry, to yell. We were supposed to have a massive fight, and then I don't know. We were supposed to figure it out. He wasn't supposed to just leave. He finally came over the next day. I'd barely slept. I'd spent the night pacing our now too empty house, rehearsing all my arguments, all my justifications. I was ready for a fight. But the man who walked through the door wasn't the Daniel I expected. He wasn't angry. He was calm, cold. He sat at our kitchen table like a stranger in our home. "So, you're back," he said, his voice flat. "How was your trip with Leo?" "Don't do that," I snapped, my carefully rehearsed composure crumbling instantly. "Don't act like I committed some major crime. You're the one who gave me an ultimatum. You backed me into a corner." He didn't raise his voice. He just pulled out his phone and slid it across the table. My photo was on the screen. "This isn't just a beach picture, Cora," he said quietly. "This is you, deliberately, trying to hurt me, to humiliate me." Then he scrolled to the comments. Friends asking where he was, coworkers of mine posting heart emojis, and then a comment from Leo. Just a single winking emoji. It looked so smug, so sleazy. "You made our private problems public," Daniel said, his eyes meeting mine. There was no anger in them, just a deep, weary disappointment that was somehow so much worse. "You wanted everyone to see you defying me. You wanted them to pick a side." The air left my lungs. He was right. That's exactly what I wanted. And in that moment, sitting on the cold kitchen floor, surrounded by the silent evidence of his departure, I realized I may have won the battle I was so determined to fight, but I had just lost the entire war. My first line of defense was to attack. It always was. "You went through my phone," I countered, my voice rising. "You tried to control who I could see and where I could go. What did you expect me to do? Just roll over and obey?" "I asked you not to go on one trip," he said, his voice still unnervingly steady. "One trip, with a guy who clearly wants more than friendship, after I found messages that made me uncomfortable. That's it." He rubbed his eyes, a gesture of pure exhaustion. "But this isn't even about Leo anymore." "Then what is it about?" I demanded. "It's about respect, Cora. It's about you always needing to test how much I'll take. The innocent flirting with waiters when we're out. The way you shut me out of your friend group, like I'm some embarrassing add-on. The way you're always the victim every single time we fight." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw a stranger. I saw the beach photo, and I know what happened with Leo. My blood ran cold. Nothing happened. I lied automatically. The words tasted like ash. "Don't." He held up a hand, stopping me. "Becca saw you coming out of his room at 2 a.m. She texted me. She was worried about you. Too. About us." I felt cornered. Trapped. "We didn't have sex," I insisted, my voice a pathetic whisper. "That's not cheating." Daniel just stared at me, his face a mask of disbelief. "Do you actually believe that? Do you honestly believe that anything short of intercourse is acceptable to do with another man when you're married to me?" "It's not like I planned it," I said defensively, tears starting to well up. "And maybe if you hadn't been so controlling, I wouldn't have—" "Stop." His voice was quiet but firm, cutting through my excuses like a knife. "No more making this my fault. I'm staying at Jake's for now. I need space to think." "You're overreacting," I pleaded, panic rising in my chest. This wasn't the script. This is insane. I came back, didn't I? I'm here. He stood up to leave. "Physically, maybe," he said, pausing at the door. "But you haven't been present in this marriage for a long time, Cora. And neither have I. That's on both of us." When he walked out, I had this terrible sinking feeling that I'd miscalculated everything. That what I thought was a game of chicken, a test of wills to see who would back down first, was actually the end of something I wasn't ready to lose. After Daniel left, the fallout hit like a tsunami. I made the mistake of checking Facebook, where that stupid bikini picture had become a public spectacle. Mutual friends were commenting with little supportive messages, not for me, but for Daniel. "Thinking of you, man. Sending you strength, D." Even my own cousin, who I thought was firmly on Team Cora, wrote, "Sending you strength, Z.Yay." Like I was the villain in this story. I called my mom, sobbing, and gave her my version. Daniel's controlling behavior, the unfair ultimatum, how I just wanted a weekend with my friends. She was sympathetic at first. "Oh, honey," she cooed. "He's always been so reasonable. I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding. I'll talk to him." 3 days later, after she'd spoken to Daniel, her tone completely changed. "You did what with Leo?" she demanded, her voice sharp and disappointed. "Cora Ann, I raised you better than that. She went on a long tirade about marriage vows and respect and the sanctity of our family's reputation. When I tried to explain my technical loophole about not actually having sex, she practically hung up on me. Even my own mother was judging me. Then came the awkward run-in with Chloe, Leo's girlfriend. I hadn't seen her since before the trip. She couldn't come because of work. I was in the grocery store, staring blankly at a wall of cereal boxes, when she approached my cart with ice in her eyes. "Hey, Cora," she said, a smile on her face that didn't reach her eyes. "How was the beach? Leo told me you all had quite the weekend." My stomach dropped. "It was fun," I managed, my voice weak. "Same as always." She studied me for a moment. "You know, Leo told me everything. About your little after-hours activities." She leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "And just so you know, he laughed about it later. Said you seemed to think it meant something, but it was just Cora being Cora." I felt like I'd been slapped. "He's my friend," I stammered. "No, honey," she said, her fake smile widening. "He's my boyfriend, who you've been completely inappropriate with. And you're a married woman who should know better." She pushed her cart past me. "Or, I guess we're a married woman. I hear Daniel's filing papers." "Filing papers?" My heart raced. She had to be lying, just trying to hurt me. But when I got home, I opened our shared laptop. I clicked on the browser history, and there it was. A search from 2 days ago, divorce attorneys near me, and a confirmed appointment with one for the next day. The final blow came from Jenna. We met for coffee, and I could tell she was uncomfortable. "Just spit it out," I said, unable to take the suspense. She sighed, stirring her latte. "Look, what you did on the trip. It wasn't cool. And not just the Leo thing. The photo was deliberately hurtful. Daniel tried to control me," I insisted, clinging to my narrative. "Did he, though?" She looked skeptical. "Because from where everyone else stands, he set a boundary in your marriage, a boundary about one specific guy you have a history with, and you didn't just cross it, you bulldozed over it. And then you humiliated him publicly to prove a point. Ever. It was just a beach photo," I protested, "with a guy you used to date, which, by the way, I can't believe you never told Daniel about, with his hand on your ass and a caption about the people who truly matter, right after your husband asked you not to go. It looked calculated, Cora. It looked cruel." I sat there, speechless for once. "And then there's the Leo thing," she continued, pressing on. "Becca told everyone what she saw, and now Leo's telling guys at the bar that it wasn't even the first time, that you two have a history of hooking up." "He's lying," I whispered, blood running cold. "That never happened before." Jenna just gave me a look, a mixture of pity and frustration. "Maybe, but here's the thing. People believe him, because of how you've acted for years. All the flirty comments, the inside jokes, the way you always prioritize him. He's my best friend," I said weakly. "No," she said, her voice firm but not unkind. "I'm your best friend. And as your best friend, I need to tell you, you messed up. Big time. And I don't know if you can fix it." As I drove home from that coffee shop, the city lights blurring through my tears, I realized something I had been desperately avoiding. People weren't just taking Daniel's side because they liked him better. They were taking his side because, in this scenario, I was actually the one who had done wrong. And that was a hard, bitter pill to swallow. After a week of suffocating silence, I decided I needed to fix this mess. I wasn't ready to admit I was completely wrong because, hello, the ultimatum was still controlling, but I could see I'd taken things too far. So, I texted Daniel, asking to meet for dinner. To my surprise, he agreed. I spent hours getting ready. I chose an outfit I knew he loved, a simple black dress I wore on our first anniversary. I made reservations at the little Italian place where we had our rehearsal dinner. I was going to remind him of what we had, of our history. I practiced my apology in the mirror. Not too submissive, but just sorry enough. When he walked into the restaurant, my heart did a painful little skip. He looked good, but tired. The lines around his eyes seemed deeper. He sat down without kissing me hello, and I knew this wasn't going to be easy. "I'm glad you wanted to talk," I started, my voice softer than I intended. "I've missed you." He just nodded, saying nothing. "I want to apologize," I continued, reaching across the table for his hand. He let me take it, but his fingers remained limp in mine. "Things got out of hand at the beach. The photo. It was thoughtless." "And what happened with Leo?" "What did happen with Leo?" he asked, his gaze direct and unflinching. I faltered. That was a mistake. I'd been drinking, and I was upset about our fight. It didn't mean anything. So you admit it happened? His voice was steady, but I could see the hurt shimmering in his eyes. Yes, but it wasn't. We didn't actually. I stumbled over my words. It wasn't full-on cheating. He pulled his hand away from mine. Cora, if I did exactly what you did the secret past, the inappropriate photo, the late-night encounter in a bedroom with a female friend, would you consider it cheating? The question caught me completely off guard. I wanted to say no, to be consistent. But we both knew the truth. I would have burned the house down. I dodged instead. This isn't about hypotheticals. This is about us. Our marriage. The marriage you were willing to risk over a beach trip, he asked? Or the one you humiliated publicly? You're the one who gave me an ultimatum. I shot back. My plan for a calm, reconciled evening already derailing. You backed me into a corner. I asked you not to go on one trip because I was uncomfortable with your relationship with Leo. One trip? He sighed, looking past me. And instead of hearing my concern, instead of maybe considering for a second why your husband might feel that way, you turned it into this huge power struggle. Ashde. Because you were trying to control me. Was I? He looked genuinely confused. Or was I asking for respect? Was I asking for my feelings to matter as much as Leo's? That hit a nerve, because deep down, I knew there was some truth to it. I had always prioritized Leo's feelings, his needs, his unwavering place in my life, often at the expense of Daniel's comfort. I just want us to move forward, I said, softening my tone, shifting tactics. I placed my hand on his thigh under the table, sliding it upwards suggestively. I miss you. I miss us. He removed my hand firmly but gently. Sex isn't going to fix this, Cora. It never has, even though you've tried to use it that way before. I felt exposed, like he could suddenly see through all my strategies, all my little games. Then what do you want from me? I whispered, my voice breaking. Accountability, he said simply. Real understanding of why what you did was harmful. Not just for the trip, but for the pattern of disrespect that led to it. Right now, you're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you got caught. The dinner went downhill from there. I alternated between defensive arguments and tearful pleas. At one point, out of sheer desperation, I played my last card. If you leave me over this, I said, my voice trembling, I don't know what I'll do to myself. It was a tactic I'd used before when backed into a corner. A veiled threat. A hint of self-harm to make him back down, to make him feel responsible for my emotional state. This time, he didn't take the bait. Don't do that, he said, his voice firm. That's emotional manipulation, and we both know it. He placed enough cash on the table to cover the bill and more. I've been talking to a therapist, he admitted, looking at the tablecloth. She's helping me see patterns. My patterns. How I've been enabling this for years. So some stranger is telling you to divorce me? I asked bitterly. No, he said, standing up. She's helping me see that I deserve a relationship based on mutual respect. He paused at the edge of the table, his car keys jingling softly in his hand. I filed the separation papers yesterday, Cora. My lawyer will be in touch. I sat in that restaurant long after he left, the plates of uneaten food growing cold in front of me. I sat there wondering how it had come to this, how one weekend, one photo, one mistake could end 4 years of marriage. But deep down, in the quiet, desolate space he had left behind, I knew the truth. It wasn't just one weekend. It was 100 small choices where I'd put my own wants above our marriage. 100 moments where I'd chosen Leo's friendship over Daniel's comfort. 100 times I had tested the boundaries of his love just to prove that I could. And now, I finally had my answer. I had pushed until the boundary broke, and I was standing all alone on the other side.